21. The pleasure of sex is not only for carrying on the family line. The core point of the pleasure in sex is the orgasm during sexual intercourse. None of the first love, adoration, yearning, dating, caressing, and other emotional enjoyments can compare to the orgasm in sex. Then, what is the orgasm in sexual intercourse? To help us understand the feeling of orgasm between males and females, I have selected some sections from Kinsey Reports, Hattie Report on Sex, and especially Sex Codes, China Reports. I feel like I'm in heaven. I have a blurry sense of giddiness, the thrilling and exciting warmth, fullness, humidness, and force. A sense of urgency, an irresistible sense of pulling. I feel extremely excited and short of breath. Meanwhile, I feel my head lifting up as if in a dream, the sound is vague and distant, time seems still. Joy, happiness, exhilaration, and excitement. I am blissfully ecstatic. I feel terrific, as if I am at my best. It feels like an awakening and the beginning of life. The feeling is incomparably wonderful, it is an ecstasy almost unbearable to human power. Charming. Surging blood. Carefree. Ecstasy. Orgasm. Unparalleled wonder. Intoxicating. Full of power. Incredible. In some aspects, arousal of sexuality offers me the opportunity to transcend myself and wake up from the dense fog of daily life and existence. I feel as if I have left my flesh and my spirit, caring for nothing that normally seems extremely important to me. Wonderful feeling of caresses, I wish this could go on forever. The stillness of life is like an eternal moment, intertwined strongly through indulging and savoring the sweet pleasure of the flesh. A fantastic sensation, I myself am in another dimension which drifts and melts from the supporting point of my life. A raging flame, violent and engulfing everything. Extremely fantastic. A refreshing and irresistible orgasm is increasing to such an extent that an intense charge surges around the clitoris, just like a space-exploring rocket shooting up explosively. Then the charge radiates in the entire region of my pubes. At this moment all other things have vanished from my consciousness. It seems that the inside of me is filled with enormous power. The wetness, the heat, and the intensity make me feel incomparably comfortable. During the whole process, all the raging wonderful feelings are radiating on the internal side of my legs. It seems that all things around me have ceased their existence. I am completely immersed in this wonderful feeling. By far, I have not experienced a more wonderful feeling than this. This feeling is a complete immersion that has nothing to do with will and thought. It has completely conquered me, occupying my body. As for the overall effect of its destructiveness, the best word to describe this physiological feeling is madly carefree. The only feeling I can relate to is a certain form of overall stiffness and tightness and the indistinguishable, internal explosion at the sexual organs. My body gradually tightens up. I feel as if I have reached the precipitous peak of perfect happiness, then I approach the plateau of ecstasy, I utter a sharp scream, glide past the crest plane of bliss, then I experience 5 or 6 fits of violent twitches and convulsions, which are acute, vehement, and agitating in the beginning and become duller, slower and milder. This is the orgasm in sexual pleasure. From the above statement, we can see that the physiological and psychological sensations during orgasm are incomparably wonderful pleasures and the ultimate beauty. No wonder Ban Gu said in The Book of Han, Arts and Literature, sexual intercourse is the ultimate expression of emotion and nature, the boundary of Tao. Jared Diamond, a physiology professor at the University of California, Los Angeles, said, "Human sex is weird. It is magical, incredible, and beyond nature. The pleasure between two sexes is so magical, so soul-stirring, so desirable, no wonder Freud concluded that the driving force of sex is the greatest force that propels social development." Then, who created such a wonderful feeling for humankind? Is sexual orgasm a result of natural evolution? Is sexual pleasure solely for the purpose of reproducing? R. Stephen Howard, a graduate student at Indiana State University, said, in terms of energy required, asexual reproduction is a more economical way to transmit genes to one's progeny. His research results showed that asexual reproduction is the most economical way and the most effective way to transmit the genetic traits of a living organism to its offspring. But how did sexual reproduction come into being? Is sexual pleasure only for bearing children? The answer is no. Prostitutes engage in prostitution not to bear children for pleasure-seeking men, and those men do not seek out prostitutes to have children with them. Human intelligence can create a master machine that produces products continuously. So, why couldn't the greatest creator make a matrix that continually produces offspring? The pleasure of sex is purely for the enjoyment of life, and this is the universal love of the greatest creator. As for the propagation of offspring, it is only a byproduct of the pleasure of sex. Moreover, asexual reproduction will pass on diseases carried by genes to future generations. Through copulation, diseases carried by genes can be remitted or even eliminated. The benefits of crossbreeding are evident. Therefore, a species may go extinct without a sex life. Thus, the pleasure of sex is an arrangement of the greatest creator. Sex life conforms to the decree of the greatest creator. Suppressing, inhibiting, or destroying sex life is against human nature. We should have sex life and enjoy it too. Sex life should accompany us to the other shore of life. It is unreasonable to suppress, inhibit, or destroy sex life because it goes against human nature. Why should we refrain from what the greatest creator has created? There is no such thing as debauchery and dissipation in sex life. The more, the better. There is nothing wrong with the mu zi mei phenomenon. If Lin Diyu in A Dream of Red Mansion had experienced an orgasm, she would not have had such a miserable ending. Does this mean that Lifechanyuan is against Christianity and Buddhism? The seventh precept of the Ten Commandments is, "You shall not commit adultery." In Matthew 5 verses 28 to 29, Jesus said, "But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into Gehenna." Gehenna, a garbage dump outside of Jerusalem. The first precept of upholding the right Dharma, in Volume 6 of the Buddhist Shurangama Sutra, is to abstain from sexual misconduct. If the minds of all sentient beings in the 6 realms of the world are not tainted by sexual desire, they will not be subject to birth and death. If you cultivate samadhi without removing the desire, you cannot transcend worldly sufferings. Even if you have great wisdom and meditation, if you do not refrain from sexual misconduct, you will fall into the demonic path. There are high-ranking demon kings, middle-ranking demon followers, and low-ranking demon women. These demons also have their own followers, and each one claims to have achieved the heavenly path. In the Dharma ending age after my nirvana, these demonic followers will be prevalent in the world, widely promoting greed and sexual misconduct as virtuous conduct, causing sentient beings to fall into the pit of attachment and lose the path to enlightenment. Jesus is God, and Sakyamuni is Buddha. Their profound wisdom is beyond us mortals, and their teachings are invaluable treasures to our life. Jesus instructs us in divinity. Following the supreme road of life guided by Jesus, we can enter the kingdom of the greatest creator. Sakyamuni enlightens us from the perspective of Buddhism. If we want to attain Buddhahood, we must break with lewdness, not only physiologically but also psychologically. Just like the teachings of Jesus, you have already committed adultery even if you only have harbored the lustful desire. Christianity is the religion of God, and Buddhism is the religion of Buddha. The two religions have made indelible contributions to mankind. Through them, we have come to know the road to supreme life space. It is the primary task of Lifechanyuan to make Jesus and Sakyamuni an integrated part of our life. If the path of human development is comparable to a 3-story building, then Christianity will be on the top level, Buddhism at the middle, and Lifechanyuan will be at the bottom. From the perspective of the level of life, Buddhism is a direct ship that leads people to the Western Pure Land, the Elysium world in the 36-dimensional spaces, by crossing over human nature. To board this ship, one must cut off lust. Where exactly Christianity wants to guide people in terms of the level of life space, I cannot fully comprehend with my current knowledge. Based on the miracles and teachings of Jesus, it seems that the goal is to make everyone an angel and enter the heaven world, God's paradise. In 12:18-25 of the Gospel of Mark, Jesus said, "For when they rise from the dead, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven." What is an angel? An angel is the super-celestial being and Buddha with divinity. Buddha is under the control of the power of Buddha, while a super-celestial being is the free, elegant, and magically powerful spiritual entity of high energy, second only to God. Christianity guides people to develop in the direction of super-celestial being, which conforms to Jesus' teachings. Only in this way can they have a definite development direction for life space. However, from the activities and pursuits of Christians, it seems that they are still clinging to worldly affairs, to the relations of parents, children, couples, and friends and relatives, and to private properties, which is unreasonable. In Luke 14 verse 26, Jesus said, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple." Because if you don't hate them, you cannot become an angel. For angels, there is nothing like family love. We can see from the teachings of Jesus and Sakyamuni that the ultimate wisdoms are communicable. They have the same purpose. Buddhists are capable of determinately cutting off all their attachments to worldly affairs, including the relations of father, mother, wife, children, brothers, sisters, belongings, status, reputation, and their own souls. They will commit themselves to self-improvement and self-cultivation wholeheartedly. They are the real Christians. However, the so-called Christians may inspire suspicion of crying up wine but selling vinegar. The direction of development for us, mankind, is the direction given by Jesus and Sakyamuni. The problem is that there is a vast ocean between humans and angels, super-celestial beings and Buddhas, and how can we navigate our life boat through the turbulent and surging, vast ocean, to reach the ideal shore? If we can abandon worldly pursuits and devote ourselves to cultivation like the monks, nuns, priests, and sisters in the temple, it would be the best way. Although it may be difficult to ascend to heaven in one step, it is worthwhile. The problem is, can we do it? Let's drop all other obstacles. How many of us can surmount the huge mountain of the pleasure of sex? I have another question. Why should we surmount this huge mountain now that the greatest Creator has equipped us with the pleasure of sex to enjoy? Isn't the feeling of orgasm, entering paradise, feeling celestial, release and proliferation of love, the standstill of time and space, the feeling of being blended into the universe, and the expectation to give up all worldly desire and stay forever at that time point, the highest realm of life we pursue? Our ultimate goal is to become angels, super-celestial beings and Buddhas. It would be too difficult for ordinary people to jump from the starting point to the end point, unless they are born with the wisdom of an angel, like my granny, who was a vegetarian by birth, not due to personal preference, but due to disgust at the smell of fish and meat. Entering graduate school directly from primary school is a process of transcending comparable to the thorough remolding of oneself and reaching the peak of perfection. It is just too difficult. Are there any smoother paths to the final success of becoming a super-celestial being or Buddha? Yes, there are. Let's first arrive at the 1,000-year world because the enjoyment of the pleasure of sex will only affect our success of becoming a super-celestial being or Buddha and will not prevent us from approaching the 1,000-year world. Please refer to the 1,000-year world of the 36-dimensional spaces. Although it is still hundreds of thousands of miles away from the kingdom of the super-celestial being and Buddhas, the 1,000-year world is, after all, a world with sublimated human nature. We can first arrive at the 1,000-year world before reaching the 10,000-year world and finally make it to the world of super-celestial beings and Buddhas, the Elysium world. This is comparable to a primary school pupil who pursues their education in the order of primary school, middle school, university, and finally the graduate school. Let's return to our topic. The pleasure of sex is the arrangement of the greatest Creator and the favor He has granted us. The greatest Creator will not punish us as long as we are grateful to Him and remember His grace when enjoying the pleasure of sex. I have seen the greatest Creator through the pleasure of sex. Have you?